Hello crew, today I'm going to list modes relevant to one of the biggest parts of the Rimworld, which is combat. We'll start with basic UI, AI and controls, and eventually delve into deeper deviance from standard game. I'm going to specifically avoid talking about Combat Extended, because that's a very different mode which changed everything, so we'll stick closer to vanilla combat, but still, most of these modes should be available for many different playthroughs. Stay tuned. The Achtung mode gives the player ability to drag pawns in a line when ordering them to move. In vanilla, they just group around the point, and here you can actually create formations. It will also give you a choice to force specific work, and in the pawn settings you can adjust the radius of searching of the forced work. I don't use it often, just know that it exists. It will also have an extra functionality of clever building, which is normally covered by another AI mode. The next mode is for those who do not enjoy your pawns shooting each other in the heat of battle. Sometimes it can be even lethal. You can't really do much about it, besides positioning them. The mode in question, Avoid Friendly Fire, will prevent this behavior. As you can see, there is a red cone, and if there are any of your colonists, your pawn will not be able to shoot. You can shoot kind of on an edge of it, but you're guaranteed not to hit if you do that. As soon as the pawn crosses the line of sight of your shooter, you will notice that the shooting will stop, and then the shooter can resume shooting as soon as you move your pawns out of the way. There is also an option to disable this, so if you want them to shoot each other normally, you can press the button to do that, so you have full control. Damage Indicators is a simple mode which displays floating numbers when damage is being done. It is useful to see how effective your weapons are against the enemy and what's happening in the battlefield. It definitely beats having to click on each pawn to figure out how much damage has been done by each shot. And in general, it's just a quality of life improvement, which is not very intrusive. Defensive Positions is a lightweight mode which allows you to set defensive positions per pawn by right-clicking the icon, and when the pawns are undrafted, you can simply click that button to return them to the position drafted, which is very useful to set up your defenses. This mode also has advanced option which allows you to set up to 4 different positions and then switch between them. The interface is very simple and non-intrusive. If you do use the mode Colony Groups, you don't need this functionality though, because in that mode you have a different function called Battle Stations. Down for me is a mode which gives an icon which can be used to forcibly down your colonists. They will just fall to the ground and you will be able to rescue them. It's very useful if you cannot wait for them to crawl to bed because they are bleeding out. It can be cheesed for 2 reasons, because at first they will keep the gun, and also it can be used to distract the AI of enemies to shoot somebody else, which is kind of fair, and the animals will still try to eat them. The Ground Targeter is a very simple mod which allows you to target grenades and other area of effect weapons specifically on the ground instead of aiming for specific colonists, which is very helpful if you want to cover a group of pawns rather than hit a single pawn. Run and Gun is a small mod which changes the combat significantly. If you enable it, it allows the colonists to shoot on the go, which makes the fights much more dynamic and controllable. You can kite enemy easier, but it makes melee significantly weaker. Another simple idea turned into an amazing mod is simple sidearms. You can equip multiple weapons, and some of them will be your primary weapons and others will be considered sidearms. If you do that, you can switch between them in combat. It will also allow you to use it with any other mod, because in the mod settings you have ability to customize the loadout, which means that if you go to the custom loadout, you are able to even manually specify some weapons that would be or wouldn't be sidearms. Like for example, in the limits section, you can simply go ahead and manually specify which weapons can be and which cannot be sidearms. So even if the mod wouldn't be natively supported by the mod itself, you can go and reconfigure the settings to fit what you need. There's also a setting where you can force your character to drop weapons in distress in combat or always whenever anything happens to the person. And you can also allow the re-equipment. So for example, if your pawn would fall down, you would be able to click the item and the pawn would go back and pick it up. I consider this a very useful mod because you can not only have melee and ranged weapons, you can also carry such things as grenades, for example EMP1s against robots, so it greatly customizes the loadout of the pawns you have. And the last two mods I wanted to show are making enemies more human-like, but it may be not something you're looking for if you want more challenge. The first mod, enemy self-preservation, is triggering the fleeing behavior if the enemy has more than 25% of pain from injuries, and if it's a wimp, that enemy will run immediately after getting the first injury. This doesn't affect mechanoids and animals, so that's fine. The settings can be tweaked. This can also be applied to the allies, and generally it makes big raids more manageable and enjoyable to fight, and AI more natural. And the second mod to complement this one is pretty simple. It's called No One Left Behind, which makes AI pick up and hold their own comrades whenever they're fleeing the battle. These two mods combined work very well if you have multiple mods with different kind of factions sieging you, and it makes it look more like a warfare rather than Zerg Rush. The bonus mod today is called Endless Rimworld. If you are tired of losing your base and starting over every time you are destroyed, this mod will keep you playing even if everybody is dead, and eventually somebody will join so you can start on the ruins of your previous fortress. This is probably great for community stories and generally removes the arbitrary lose conditions when you have no more pawns left. If you like this kind of content, please leave a like and a comment if you would like to add something from yourself. I'm looking forward to build a community and create many more videos about Rimworld. I have a long list of mods to review, and I will be grateful if you could share your opinion. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a great day. See you in the next video. Bye bye.